Now, let's join our guest for today. I am joined by a lawyer, Ibrahim Lawal, for discussion on the judgment of the presidential election petitions tribunal as the court affirms victory of President Tinubu. Thank you so much for joining us, sir.
It's a pleasure.
You would agree with me that yesterday saw a decisive judicial resolution of the credibility questions that have hovered around the president's election over 6 months. What's your impression about the judgment?
Well, let me first and foremost salute and give kudos to the judges who have painstakingly looked at the petitions and have determined the petition the way it has done. They determined the petition based on law and sound principle of law. We need to commend them for a job well done. You know, judiciary cannot speak. You have to also speak for them. So we need to salute them. We need to give kudos to them. Yesterday, they were there for like 12 hours delivering such judgment. So we need to give kudos to them. What emanated from the court yesterday was nothing but, the true principle of law. There was nothing that was stated in that judgment yesterday that was new. Is it the issue of nomination of the vice president, which the Court of Appeal had settled in the case between PDP and INEC in part 1900 of the Nigerian Weekly Law Report, where they said that no political party can challenge the nomination of another political party. That any political party who decide to do that is nothing but a busybody and a noisemaker. Supreme Court has settled that. And it is straight principle of law too that when you bring an action before a court, you need to also, you allege, must prove, you must back your actions with evidence. You don't come to court and start fishing for evidence, or you want the court to help you to make sense of your case. You are the owner of your case. You must bring evidence before the court to prove your assertion, which they have failed to do. And your witnesses must be credible. You must have credible evidence, to prove your case. And from what you have heard from judges yesterday, from my lords, who sat and listened not only to the witnesses, they also looked at their demeanor. They came to the realization that the petition, the 3 petitions before them had no merit. And we must commend them for having that boldness to say it as it is. It is also an opportunity for Nigerians to actually know what actually happened at the tribunal, beyond what we read on social media. And the reality about cases is that cases are not won by emotion. It is won by hard facts. You need to have your facts, and know how to use those facts, to prove your case, which all the petitioners in this circumstance have failed woefully to do. It is unfortunate that people are taking the issue of elections, democracy beyond what is supposed to be. If you are taking the fact that in electoral contest, you win, you lose. And when you lose, you go back and prepare for the next time. So, to me, what has come out of that judgment yesterday is the true position of the law and cannot be quoted by anybody.
All right, then. So before yesterday, there was so much noise about the tribunal. How will you describe the response by the justices?
Well, that's why I said I salute them. The justices are not bothered about the noise in the market. They will tell you that they are to, dispense justice without favor, without, fear of favor, affection or ill will. And that my lords have done yesterday. You can see them delivering the judgment, with confidence that this is the position of the law and they were espousing it, regardless of the noise, regardless of, the threat and intimidation of my lords, at different fora. To the extent that some people have to say all eyes are on the judiciary. We have seen the eyes that are on the judiciary and they did not falter. So I challenge them that against the threat, against intimidation, they were able to do justice to the case yesterday. So we should commend them, for rising beyond those threats, to state the true position of the law.
All right. But again, what's your assessment of the tone of the justices, especially with how the petitioners handled their cases at the court?
No, the thing is that what the judgment revealed to us was the tardy manner in which, the petitioners handled their case. The judgment yesterday revealed the fact that the petition itself, the three petitions are nothing but empty shells. It was also revealed, yesterday that the petitioners were not serious with their petition. How can you, as a petitioner, presidential election petitioner, wanting to overturn the election in the whole federation with 13 witnesses? And all those witnesses, there were no polling agents. Even when you look at even the pleadings, the judgment revealed to us that the pleading was nothing but, just a concoction. You pleaded about several local government, several polling units, without naming specific polling units you are referring to. Those are nebulous, pleadings that will not stand the test of time. And that was why a lot of paragraphs in their pleadings had to be struck out yesterday, because it does not make sense. It was vague, it was nebulous. So yesterday judgment exposed, the tardiness of the handlers of those petitions as people who are not serious in prosecuting their petition to a logical conclusion. They were just interested in the noise around the petition and nothing more. It has shown to us, and I want to give kudos, to the president of the Court of Appeal, who gave approval that the judgment should be heard live. I can assure you that if the judgment was not heard live, we would have been hearing different news. But because everybody had it, no one can come and begin to bamboozle us again. And so it makes everybody to be clear about what was the issue. And people now knew that those who are making noise about petitions are not serious with the petition. So it was a blessing that the judgment was had live. And so everybody now knew that those people are not serious about prosecuting their petition.
All right, so still talking about lack of seriousness on the part of the petitioners, I'm curious, how difficult is it to prove malpractice and overvoting at the national scale? Is it really an extremely impossible threshold, or still some sort of lack of seriousness on the part of the petitioners?
Well, it is not true. You see, there are a plethora of cases. In fact, since 1999, from the era of Buhari and Obasanjo, there had been cases, decided by the Supreme Court on how to prove violence, on how to prove malpractice in an election petition. It has been settled by the Supreme Court that if you are talking about violence, you need to bring, your polling agents or any person who witnessed that event. You can't go and bring witnesses. They brought witnesses who are not themselves at the place of occurrence of events. You brought them to come and give evidence. You said there are violence in Kogi State. The person you brought to come and give evidence voted in Abuja and did not go to Kogi at all. How would court believe such evidence? It is clearly hearsay. So The law is very clear as to the ingredients, as to what you need to prove, violence, to prove malpractices, and so on and so forth. It is the evidence of those who saw those things happening and no other person. You cannot go and bring somebody who is alien to that situation and say he's giving evidence. It does not work. You brought reports of election monitors. Those people are not there to be cross-examined. You just brought a report and you want the court to believe that report. When the report has not gone through, the fullness of cross-examination, nobody will believe such evidence. So it is just that we have decided not to throw the part of law, because the law is settled as to how we are going to prove any allegations in an election, petition.
All right.
And it is very clear what you need.
So considering the unanimous lessons that have been picked from this unanimous judgment, what aspects of the judgment will you consider as key to having credible elections in Nigeria?
Well, as far as I'm concerned, the lesson I have that should be drawn from that is that what is important about election is that election starts and ends at the polling unit. That the basis upon free and fair election is the declaration of results at the polling unit. And so every political party must ensure that they have representatives at the polling unit, which they call agents. They must have their agent at the polling unit. We discovered that even those who went to court, particularly the Labour Party, do not have their agents in all the polling units in Nigeria. And so it is very important, it is very key. The lesson one must take away from this judgment is that as a political party, you must have your agents who must insist on taking results that was declared at the polling unit. It has happened in so many cases. But where you now want to rely on election being uploaded at IRED, it is clear now that the position of IRED is just to make people aware of what was going on. It's like an entertainment to the whole world. That is not the basis upon which elections or results are declared. The results are declared at the polling unit, and copies of such results given to agents of political parties. So political parties must be serious. If you know you want to run for an election, you must be serious to mobilize agents at the polling unit where election results will be declared. Votes are counted, sorted, and the election declared. You must have and ensure that you have a copy of the result. So if you now have issues with the result at the end of the day, you'll be able to tender the copy of the result which you have. So those are the takeaway from the judgment.
All right, so the PDP and the Labour Party have rejected this judgment and vowed to appeal it. What's your take on that?
Well, it is within their constitutional right,
absolutely,
to still appeal that judgment. They are just exercising their right, and that right cannot be taken away from them. There is a constitutional right, but I can assure them that I do not see any reprieve they will get from the Supreme Court, because this judgment is a pronouncement of law, a settled principles of law. A lot of issues that were settled there are not novel. They were issues that had been settled by the Supreme Court. So I wish them luck if they decide to test the law at the Supreme Court. It is within their power, and it is within their constitutional right to do so. So I wish them well. But like I said, I am afraid it is going to still result to the same thing.
Now, on several occasions, elections in Nigeria always end in the court. Is this about politicians, the lawyers, or the process?
Well, I think it is about us as a people. people do not, want to accept defeat. There are times where, when the process itself is fraught with some irregularities, it was not deceive ourselves. But since the introduction of beavers, particularly on the issue of accreditation, it has reduced, and I feel that people should learn to be good losers. When they lose, they should. But at the same time, a lot of reform we have seen in the electoral process was as a result of the fact that people allege, the outcome in court, and the pronouncement of court had become, a form of a law that had been, amended and straightened in our, electoral jurisprudence. So, in a way, when people challenge election in court, it also enrich our electoral, laws, such that when we want to make amends or do amendments to our laws, they take into account all those things. So it is a welcome development when people go to challenge elections, and like I said, it's the most civilized thing to do anyway. So we can't condemn those who go to challenge the outcome of elections in court, but in doing so, we must be sure of our facts. When we have our facts, we have our evidence clearly, we can approach the court. But it will be wrong just for the sake of just going to court, you just go to court and waste the precious time of the court. That is what I frown at. If you look at the petitions, the 3 petitions, as far as I'm concerned, it's just a sheer waste of judicial time.
So, we've talked about the petitioners, but then the court said each of the petitions was unmeritorious, using fact and law to ground its verdicts in each of the cases. Would you agree that this is some kind of indictment on some of your colleagues?
Now, well, it is not indictment anyway. But the reality about cases is that, more often than not, when a client approaches, a lawyer and said you want to challenge this election, even when at times when you advise the client that this matter, I said just go to court. It happens to me. There was a case they brought to me, and I said this matter cannot fly. Even if you go to court, I said go to court, want to make this statement. So there are so many reasons why people go to court, particularly political parties. They will tell you that if they don't go to court after election, there is no way they will mobilize their members to still believe in that party. So there are so many reasons. So it is not an indictment on our colleague, because our colleague would work on the available, evidence that is, given to them. They are not the owner of the case. Their own is to make use of the available facts that they have, to prepare that petition. So that's the thing. So there are so many reasons why people approach the court, not necessarily at times that they want to win.
So to wrap this up, how will you rate outcome of the election in view of the verdict of the tribunal?
Well, I've always been of the opinion that the election that we had, that thrown President Bola Ahmed Tinubu emerged as winner, was one of the best and fairest elections we have ever had in Nigeria. Forget about the noise that people make. I have been a close watcher of events. I have witnessed election in this country, from 1999, and I know how election has been conducted. I can assure you that this election that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu emerged was one of the fairest elections we have ever conducted. So the judgment of the tribunal is just an attestation to the fact that that election was free and fair.
All right. Thank you so
I have
much.
no doubt, right from the word go.
Right. Thank you so much, Mr. Ibrahim Lawal. Mr. Lawal is a lawyer. Thank you so much for your perspective on the judgment of the Presidential Election Petitions Tribunal. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. Thank you.
Welcome, my pleasure.